Alright guys, it's time for our ace match here. Final game in this best of 9. It is spawning in the top right position as our, well, I guess another final match, but Fnatic is on their last leg here. Spawning in the top right position as our red Protoss player for Fnatic, it is going to be NightEnD. And spawning in the bottomless position as our yellow Zerg player from Karate Esports Club, it is VortiX. So, this is a pretty interesting position because VortiX, you know, if he wins this, it's over. Is he going to try for some kind of cheese play? Is he just going to play a long game? Does he feel like he has enough in him to play out another long game versus NightEnD? He's, you know, Lucifron managing to take the first couple of games, VortiX taking a couple of games, and now it's on to the 5th game. If VortiX wins this, it's over. They get their match. They move on to the next round in this qualifier bracket. So it's going to be pretty important to see how far our players can make it. But well, scouting probe in the main base of VortiX for NightEnD. He did put down a pylon in the natural expansion, so he's going to be able to spot. He's most likely going to go for some kind of Forge expand or Nexus first into Forge. But the spawning pool goes out around 15 supply for VortiX. Pretty standard timing. A little bit safe, not crazy. NightEnD, though, not really afraid to go for any kind of crazy, how should I say, blockage. Of course, we did see the pylon blocks from earlier, but is he going to go for that same style? That's the real question the probe is dancing around there. VortiX is going to try to get his hatchery in. Now, it does look like NightEnD wants the Nexus first, so he will not block the hatchery with the pylon because of this. Unless he gets the... Well, the Nexus is actually going, but he kills the probe, which is a huge score. Now you can't pressure at all. Actually, VortiX should just go straight for a third base at this point. Once he scouts this Nexus first, he basically sees the Forge timing, should recognize, okay, well, there is not too much you're going to be able to do here. So this should be moving to a pretty relatively standard game. He hasn't actually looked at the building Nexus just yet. There are 4 Zerglings crossing the field, though. He's going to try to get inside that main base. The 4-lings, of course, the way that they're rallied, of course, since he killed the original probe, he doesn't have to worry about anything blocking him or really scouting it at a proper timing. So Zerglings are going to head across. Now the tower, the probe will see this. He may build another pylon or gateway to try to block himself in. This photon cannon still has about 20 seconds left on that building timer. He's going to try to go in and block this with a pylon. The Zerglings are in position. He might just try to get a hit on this pylon, but I don't think he's going to actually be able to kill anything. So nice little catch here by NightEnD to not lose too much here. He might actually lose this pylon, though, which would be pretty significant. So VortiX will get something for his money, and if he cancels this pylon, he's actually opened the wall up quite a bit. There's 2 gaps now in it, so good play from VortiX, just kind of scaring him at the, at the price of a single Zergling. He managed to get a pylon, never a bad deal. NightEnD now checking out this third base, kind of has that probe patrolling, wants to make sure, of course, there's no fast third base, but there's no gas from VortiX, so he'll be looking to get that third anyway. We now have the single Zergling headed over to the third. He's going to be able to shut that probe down. We already should have a drone on the way to build that, but no, he's going to go for this double gas. Very interesting decision from VortiX. He may just want to trick NightEnD into thinking that he wants to go for this fast third base, but we're going to have to see. Double gas will be done soon. The cybernetics core is also almost complete. Keep in mind, everything gets delayed a little bit by these extra pylons that he had to build. So not only the pylon that he had to cancel, but the extra one he had to replace. So that is a pretty significant loss to take early on in the game. Now, with the gas being mined from VortiX, the question kind of becomes, are we going to see that same style as we saw in game number 1 with a slightly faster layer, with a really quick Overlord drops with the Hydralisks, or are we going to see something a little bit maybe more 2-base minded with a large Roach push right up the front, since the wall has been compromised a little bit, but it is going to be that layer at 6 minutes, so very interesting decision. It's not the latest layer possible, but it is a little bit earlier than usual. Actually, quite a bit earlier than usual. Typically, out of fast gasless 3-hatch build, you wouldn't end up taking your gas until about the 5:45 or 6-minute mark. So he wouldn't even be starting a lair until about 7 minutes. So this is going to be pretty interesting to see if he wants to go for some kind of quick drop play again. There is a Roach Warren on the way, and that pneumaticized Carapace, and this is one of those tiny things you can take advantage of in Heart of the Swarm, largely because the Overlord speed upgrade has actually been moved to the hatchery tech, so he can get this upgrade while he's building his lair, and then he can immediately get Vengeful Sacks once the lair is complete. So should be pretty crazy to see how exactly he takes advantage of this. Lair is done. Infestation Pit's going to come in though, and missile attack. So now this is starting to look a little bit like this could be a 2-base Swarm Host timing. With the Roach Warren, that feels a little weird, but of course the Roaches can support the Swarm Host. But this early on, there's a cannon at the wall, so Burrow Infestor isn't going to do much. His Speed Overlord will be able to scout this, and at the very least, maybe the Speed Overlord could feign him into thinking that it's going to be another big drop play. But even so, the Speed Overlord will actually be good for any kind of Swarm Host style, simply because they you can spread the creep for them to move through to accelerate the speed of the Locust, and that's what it's going to be. That Enduring Locust upgrade is coming in for VortiX, so he's going to go for the fast Swarm Host build, and he's spreading his creep very, very hard in the center of the map. He's basically made additional queens just for spreading this creep, and we should see, as this tumor finishes and provides vision, a ton of creep being spread. But now we have a little bit of a Mothership Core poke, 3 Stalkers and a Zealot. There are a couple Roaches and a Queen to help deal with this, and this pretty fast third coming out of NightEnD is actually going to be jeopardized very quickly by the build that VortiX is doing. He needs to continue to spread his creep though. It's super, super important for the build that he's doing that he can get as much creep spread as humanly possible, or I guess as zergally possible. But now we have the Swarm Hosts being produced. There's 4 of them on the way. That Enduring Locust upgrade is going to be done pretty soon. Of course, it is going to basically allow the Locust to survive a lot longer. The Overlord is already pooping creep on the 3rd, so once he forces a cancel on it, he's going to be in a great position to just prevent it from ever going up. So because this creep is everywhere, NightEnD really doesn't want to cancel that. NightEnD kind of realizes, hey, if I have to cancel this base, then I'm very likely not going to be able to get up another 3rd, probably for the rest of this game, or at least for a very, very long time. So he's going to push out here. He actually has an Immortal, uses the Time Warp to slow the Roaches down. The Immortal for NightEnD actually getting a lot of great hits, but now the Swarm Hosts are available. They're going to begin to push out towards these units. Of course, they are a bit of free supply. Now keep in mind, there's an Observer here, so if he overextends too much and all the Locusts die, he can actually kill the Swarm Host straight up. So this is definitely a precarious position to be in. Kills one of the Queens. The Overlord is here. He's going to immediately take out these Swarm Hosts, and it looks like this Swarm Host rush has been really, really, really just shut down completely. The 3rd Nexus is done. There's a cannon to protect it, Stalkers and Immortals. And the Swarm Host count never reached the number that was actually useful, and now that there are Colossi already coming onto the field, there's really no way that VortiX is going to be able to do much with this. He's taking his 3rd base, but a Zerg taking the 3rd after a Protoss is a very scary proposition indeed. And now the creep tumors are going to get cleaned up. They're all spread in one direction, so like it's some terrible music, it's just going to die and kill everything really, really fast. So the Swarm Host, though, Burrow, he does have the Time Life upgrade for the Locust, so he's going to shove him away with these. But it's going to take some really, really good positional play with these Locusts to pull himself back in. He's getting a ton of drones now behind this with his Locusts, trying to just force in like a siege of some kind. If you guys tune into some games like White Rob versus Hyun match, we've actually seen the Locusts manage to kind of hold their own against Colossi. It just depends on numbers and positioning. So VortiX is continuing to shoot these bad boys out across the ground. Now the question is, are they going to be able to do anything of merit, though? They have the timed life upgrade, but now they're still halfway dead. Going to try to poke away at these gateways. Locusts actually do quite a bit of damage, but they have very short range, so it's always awkward to kind of see how this dynamic plays out with them trying to deal damage. But +2 attack is on the way for NightEnD, and VortiX needs to warm his Swarm Host up a bit closer. Now he's doing it. The Queens are actually spreading creep really, really effectively outside of this this natural / 3rd area. And the Locust poke away at one of the gateways. He's going to pick off a Stalker. And as long as the Locusts continue to slowly chip away at what the Protoss player has, you get a lot of cost-effective engagements really, really easily, especially cost-effective when you think of it in the sense that the units are free. But once the Colossi count reaches about 4 or 5, The Locusts are not quite as big of a deal as they used to be. He has an Overseer with these now, so his Queens can actually snipe away the Observer. Really, really smart play from VortiX, keeping in mind the mistakes of his past. He's kind of becoming like Cell from Dragon Ball, just kind of realizing and absorbing his weaknesses. No, he should try to focus fire down particular buildings. He's kind of just feeding the Locust to his opponent at this point. He does have a good number of the Swarm Hosts, but he's going to retreat now. Kind of curious as to why. He's not really under threat of any attack, but he's just kind of repositioning himself. On the Locust, just going to walk in, suicide themselves again, maybe get a Stalker. No. Well, 16 Mutalisks is going to be the transition for VortiX, which is pretty awesome considering how hard the Robo style is required to deal with this 18 Mutalisks. So this is going to be pretty crazy. VortiX, he's going all out. He's going to bring the Swarm Host home for purely defense, and the Mutalisks moving up to 20 now, getting 200 damage. Now this Gateway will actually die. He'll probably be able to kill the Photon Cannon. Nope. That all just kind of die at once. But now NightEnd's pushing out, but there are so many Mutalisks. This is going to get crazy really, really, really fast. Keep in mind, these have the extra speed and heart of the Swarm. They're faster than the Wings of Liberty Mutas, and they also regenerate life much, much, much faster. So this is going to be intense. He's moving in now. There's nothing here to protect these poor little Probelings, and the Stalkers do have Blink, but the longer that they're kept out there, the more that these Swarm Hosts can start to come back into action again. And well, he's picked off a good number of the probes already. He's moved up to about 10 probe kills. And now that the Stalkers blink up, he's just going to retreat. And Mutas are so hard to deal with in Heart of the Swarm as a Protoss player, especially since all of those Colossi were forced. But now we're going to have triple Stargate as the transition for NightEnD. And, well, if his economy doesn't get shut down enough, I really feel like these Swarm Hosts really need to try to move over and shut down this fourth base, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're getting into a decent position. They need to burrow, let go of those Locusts, and with this Locust support, the Mutalisks might actually be able to take this fight, and that seems to be exactly what he wants to do. The Locust deals so much damage. He's moving in. He's bringing in to try to deal as much as he can, but he needs to wait for the timed regeneration of the life of the Swarm Host for these Locusts to get back at him. And the Mutas are just going to swing around back towards that natural expansion. The more he can pull the Stalkers around, the better. If he shuts down the gas income, he shuts down the Phoenix production. Stalkers blink up, getting a couple of hits. It looks like VortiX wants to focus down this hatchery, but this Nexus, excuse me. But he's actually going to lose quite a few of his Mutalisks, clipped pretty hard there. 5 more Mutas on the way. The more of his Mutalisks he loses, the more of a snowball effect this is going to be for NightEnD with his +2 attack that he has, +3 that is on the way. And now the Swarm Host Locust are going to push out here, but there's so many Stalkers on the field. It's just basically pure Stalkers. So this is going to be really, really, really difficult for VortiX to transition out of. He's in a super awkward spot going Swarm Host, Mutalisk. He's getting his Mutalisk attack. He's getting his +1 melee attack, but is it too late is the real question. And now that this wave of Locust is about to die, actually kills a bunch of Stalkers. It's actually kind of ridiculous how much damage that wave of Locust just did. He does shut this down because he has the Observer there, but he just killed all the Colossus. I don't think he realizes how much damage he just took from that. These Mutalisk flock is actually going to be able to kill all of these Stalkers here now, if he so chooses. So this is going to be super, super hard to deal with. Now beginning to get a really, really big hit, getting all of those Glaive Worm bounces upon the Stalkers. He needs to back off, though. The rest of the Stalkers are here. He needs to get out of here. He's taken too much damage. He's lost a lot of his Mutalisks. Most of them are dead. And VortiX is just going to GG. So NightEnD takes this game and we'll be able to push this back towards being, I think, a game number 8. I've lost count at this point. It's just been extremely crazy. I think, man, that's kind of funny. You just walk your army over one wave of Locusts and you lose all of your important units. That's actually kind of ridiculous. But all right, guys, we'll get into the next game as soon as we can. This is the Acer Teamstory Cup EU Qualifier. Like a koala.